Welcome to Nuclear Popcorn. The rules of the game are simple. The host will show the players the last 5 minutes of a movie they haven't seen. The players will have a week to formulate a pitch of what they think the plot is. The closest gets meaningless points, maybe a crisp high five. Probably a smooch on the forehead because they're a good boy. Or girl. The host will then reveal what the actual plot was. And that's it. You'll get it. You're smart. And your host for the week is...
Hi, I'm August. Welcome to Nuclear Popcorn. Hi.
Hi, August.
Hi,
August.
I'm August.
Hi.
I'm your host for this week.
Why do we feel the need every episode to start it? Hi, guys.
I don't know how else to start it.
There's no good intro.
Well, we have a good intro.
It's
It's
such
just-
a good build-up, and that I don't know. We just collectively,
like-
I kind of dig it.
Yeah,
I kind
you
of
know,
like how it.
let's keep doing it. So let's introduce ourselves going that way. They can't see which way I pointed.
So I'm Hannah. I'm the woman.
I'm Ben. Hello.
I'm Luke. I'm here too, I guess.
And once again, hi, I'm August. I'm your host for this week.
Yay.
So how's everyone been? How's everyone been this week? I do need to say, we watched the last 5 minutes of this week's movie 2 weeks ago, and we took a break for Thanksgiving.
We did.
Yeah.
We are
did.
recording these well in advance of when they're actually going to be released. So it's Thanksgiving. So how was everyone's Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was fine. It was good. I can't do bread or dairy, which
Oh, that's
gets a little-
Thanksgiving.
It's a little challenging around Thanksgiving. You know, everything is just drenched in butter. It's the South, so you know.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeehaw.
But it is my birthday tomorrow. I'm turning 24.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Hannah.
birthday.
Ben, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was good. I ate a lot of food and slept a lot, and was doing some remote work through the holidays. But yeah, it was a good time. Got
You
to hang
workaholic,
out with
you.
my family.
Ugh.
Hardly.
California.
California.
Cue the Snoop Dogg verse and the Katy Perry song.
No, I want to have the actual Snoop Dogg verse underplay. Ben talking right there.
Can you for copyright purposes?
Oh shoot! No, I
don't
can't.
think you can.
Oh.
Never
Pitched
mind.
down, and I'm talking over it. I think we'll get away with
No,
it.
let's just leave this part
Yeah.
in so they know that we wanted to put in California.
We wanted to actually put in
Whether
that
we did
verse
or
when we
not, you'll
couldn't.
know.
My Thanksgiving was good. Went home, saw some family, ate some food, including lasagna. Had a lot of lasagna.
Hey.
What?
It was really? Yeah, it's like a Midwest thing
A
to
classic
have
Thanksgiving dish.
lasagna with Thanksgiving. It's.
That's weird. Like that's.
I'm sorry. Do you not want to eat
agree.
lasagna during that?
I
No,
would
it's-
like. I'm very hungry now, so I would love some lasagna at any point.
But like
But that is kind of strange.
everything's already so filling. Why do you need lasagna the most filling?
Because
thing?
it's somehow more delicious than bland turkey. Okay,
You know what? That's fair. Turkey's really bland.
They don't put
When
you
I
to
want to
sleep.
sit down and have like
Yeah.
a
On top of
hearty
everything
meal,
else. Yeah.
I immediately picture lasagna.
Luke is Garfield.
Luke is Garfield.
I
Lucas,
didn't want you guys to find out this way, but I am
Oh.
Garfield.
unlike you guys, I'm not afraid to shit talk my family because I know they'll never listen to this. Well,
Wow.
no, this is my way to see if they actually do listen to this or not. My Thanksgiving was terrible.
You're gonna get so
They
many
were awful.
angry texts.
There's a bit of passive aggression. I got stabbed 7 times.
Oh.
Ooh.
This is a joke. I didn't act. It was fine.
Cranberry sauce ain't that good. You get stabbed 7 times.
Well,
I said we need the blood of my son in my cranberry sauce.
all right. So I guess I'll introduce our movie for this week before we get into describing the last 5 minutes. The movie I picked is called Planet of the Vampires from 1965.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
I will say I picked it because I thought it was going to be really stupid. I love it so much. It's so good.
I just want to go on the record and say my pitch is equally as stupid as you thought this movie was going to be.
I'm so excited for your stupid bitch.
But I'm glad you enjoyed it because I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
see promise of like there could be some cool things going on in here, but otherwise it's just like
The aesthetic and the costumes and everything.
Yeah.
It's a 1965 this is obvious from the last 5 minutes. It's like a retro futuristic movie with like big blinking lights and like ray guns and stuff like that.
What they
Yeah.
thought the future would look like.
Exactly. And it's great. It's great. But yeah. So I guess we'll start describing the last 5 minutes of the movie.
So we cut to Sonya
Yeah.
staring
Yeah.
into
Big
oblivion.
60s hair.
I literally
sitting at the
wrote-
helm of a spaceship.
I wrote gal with strawberry blonde hair, space shit, and then Sonya in all caps.
That's exactly.
Like,
I did
that's
girl with 60s hair. Period.
Like-
Sonya. Period.
She's staring off. I assume she's looking at the blinking lights or
The monitor.
The monitor,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
I'm actually trying to remember where she is in the ship, and I don't know. Like, I've seen the
It's
movie, and I don't
it's
know.
the monitor room that he's at the end of the last 5 minutes, I think. It's the same
Yeah.
room.
Yeah, it looked like the
think
exact
that-
same shot, but
Just
there was a
like
different. There was
wider.
Mark
You know
instead
what?
of Wes.
That's right. It was. They reversed it, so it got all confusing,
Yeah.
geometrically. So,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
she's staring off, and then Wes comes in.
Yes.
Wes, yes.
Wes comes in and starts saying like, "Oh, I was trying to fall asleep, but there was a figure deciding."
He says, I wrote it down.
Ooh.
He said, if I wasn't so wide awake, I swear I was dreaming.
That's amazing. I kind of really like that.
And
You're
then
gonna
he
steal
like
it.
recounts seeing some invisible force or
Yeah.
person opening a door on its own, like something,
Through a
and then there's a
reflection.
reflection of
Yeah.
Mark, I think was what he said.
Yeah, I think he
With a ray gun?
is accusing Mark of being a vampire because he's
Yes.
seeing the reflection of the what was it called?
Of,
The ray gun,
Yeah, of some.
It was some
with a
weird-
ray
the
gun.
field
Yeah.
ray gun.
the field
Something.
ray gun. And so, like, he comes in and says pretty much. I'm trying to remember. He says pretty much, my door opened and they were standing outside of my door, and then they left. And then Sonya is like, "Oh, did you see who it was?" No, then it's nothing. And he went, "No, I did see who it was. It was Mark."
Oh,
Bum bum bum.
Through the polished metal.
chrome something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big polished metal in the
Yeah.
corner of the room.
And then Sonya says, "Let's go see," and
Yeah.
they go out into like the main like
It's like a hallway.
hall lobby of a space
Armory.
craft. I don't know, but there's like guns on a wall, and then she takes one of I think it's a ray gun, right? Takes one of the ray guns from the wall, and then they go to confront Mark.
Very slowly paced,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
say.
Very
slowly.
slow.
Really awkward.
And the three of them, like Mark's in some, I guess, like a control room or something. It looks like they were in a control room before, so we don't really know where Mark is now.
So Mark is it's called the control room, I believe.
sweet. Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
Okay, it looked like the cockpit of a ship.
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing is I was having seen the movie. I'm not sure if it is the control room because if it is, the rest of the movie they show it from a completely different angle than they do in the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh.
Wow.
For the rest of the movie, it's from like the back, so you can see how big the control room is.
Right.
From the last 5 minutes, you only see it from the
see this
front,
one
and it's
angle.
really close up on Mark. And
Budget
it,
cuts.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like a really
Probably.
small room.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, big twist. Wes is betrayed. And it turns out that
Well, like Wes and
Mark.
Sonya go in, and Sonya
Yeah, they
goes,
go in.
"Mark."
They
Wes figured-
Wes
Wes figured
found
us
out
out.
about us.
Yeah.
yeah. And so they take the gun nonchalantly from
He just
Wes's
kinda
hand.
Yeah,
grabs
no fight there at all.
Very slow. We cannot reiterate enough how slow all of their actions are.
To be honest, I did not pick these last 5 minutes because they were exciting.
No, yeah. They just like take the gun from his hand.
And then Mark is like,
Don't be
calm
afraid,
down.
Wes.
We're not going to kill you. Nobody wants to
harm
kill you.
Yeah.
And he says, and besides, you're not going to be the one to stop
Stop
us. And Wes is like, but no, it can't be.
Our world will never fall into your hands, is the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our world will never fall. And then that's when Mark says, but you won't be the one to stop us. He goes, yes, I will.
But Sonya also like invites him to be a vampire or something. She's like,
Yeah, like
Something like
join
that.
us.
"You can
yeah,
join
like,
us," and he's like,
you wanna
New
vote.
complexity or whatever.
Yeah, and then he like runs away, but they don't really chase him. Like he just kind of runs out. He doesn't grab another gun. He just
Yeah, like where's he
runs
gonna
back.
go? He's
Yeah.
in space.
he just runs back to the room that we saw like earlier with where Sonya was, I guess, looking at the monitor. and he destroys like a signal.
With like a hockey stick by the looks of it.
Yeah, it looks
big
like a
like
hockey
Chrome
stick.
hockey stick.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but like it is. I don't know. And he gets electrocuted and then dies. And I think they called it a meteor rejector. I think was what they said.
I didn't catch that, but I
I
believe
don't.
you.
I might be wrong.
I would
wrote it
correct you, but
down.
none of you caught it, so I'm
I
not
just
going to
wrote
correct
down,
you.
Okay.
without the meteor ejected, they can't return home.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
I did not remember
meteor.
what that meant, so I did not
So-
include it in my pitch.
Something about meteors. And not being able to like I don't know.
So he destroys it, and it blows up, and it kills him.
Yeah. And then they're like, we have to land now. We can't go home. And the planet that they're gonna land on is Earth.
No.
They
And he's
zoom
like,
in and they're like,
the
"Oh,
Mark-
it's a primitive civilization. Look how they still build
One of
with
those
stone."
really bad
Yeah.
60s sci-fi twist endings where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, these really weren't Earthlings.
Where it's like, what else could have been how else could it have ended if they were landing on some planet?
Yeah, so
But yeah, they zoom in with their really good telescope,
yeah, something like
and it
that.
just crossfades into New York City.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we can live on this planet. We can live here safely. And then Sonya asks, will they accept us?
Yeah.
And Mark goes, I hope for their sakes. And then they fly into Earth.
And that's the movie.
And that's the last 5 minutes.
That's the last 5
I want to
minutes.
go on the record and say their ship looks exactly like the USS Enterprise
Yes.
from Star Trek.
100%,
Yes.
It looks
Never
exactly like
decided
it.
Yeah.
till now.
I
I
just-
just didn't. But now that you say that.
I picked this movie because I thought it was going to be bad because it's called Planet of the Vampires and it's from the 1960s. And then I watched the movie and I was like, I'm so glad I picked this for different reasons. And also, I love this movie. I love anything like hokey 50s sci-fi. It's just,
That's exactly what this is. As
no, yeah, it's
from the last 5 minutes, that's exactly what I picked up.
100%. It's great. Yeah. So, before we do the first pitch, I actually reached out to some people and got us a few sponsors.
Oh no!
Oh no.
What?
Yeah, I got just a couple.
That's great.
I think just like 4 sponsors.
We
to,
can
like,
fund our projects. Sponsorships, can't we, August?
So yeah, our first sponsor for the day is Gallatin Road Butcher. Pasture raised, grass fed, grain finished, humanely slaughtered animals. Trust me, they're happy you're dead. Raised on a family farm. Gallatin Road Butcher delivering life altering meat. Thank you. Let's go into the
I think
first.
your tea's done, Hannah.
What?
Nothing.
They paid us.
Continue.
They what? They're happy you're dead.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
So Wes is a little bitch. He's
How'd you know?
He's actually the worst of his class and one of the few from Earth in a series of super soldiers from all over the universe. They all live on a space station designed to support all living organisms. But he's chosen by his superior, Mark, the old man we saw in the clip, to lead his fellow soldiers in defeating a dangerous but unknown threat. Sonya, at the top of the class with her striking strawberry blonde hair, initially resents Wes because he was chosen over her for the mission. She's instead assigned to be his right-hand woman and confidant. 10 soldiers from the space program are sent out into space, exploring various planets of varying environments. Whether covered in ice, smoke, or flames, someone is mysteriously killed on each planet while collecting samples and evidence of the dangerous threat. Murder mystery, but make it space. After a well-timed studying montage, and with the help of Sonya, Wes discovers that the evidence collected is from a species of vampires who have been going from planet to planet in hopes of finding the perfect place to make their nest and feed, without being detected so they can eventually make the planet their own. Mark warns Wes that if he fails one more time, there will be major consequences. On the next voyage out, Wes sees a fellow soldier being killed by an invisible force. Dude's literally just flying around, getting his ass handed to him, but the space bullets from Wes's space gun do nothing to stop the vampire, who is invisible, by the way. I think we established that, but invisible. Every soldier except Wes and Sonya are slaughtered. The only ones left on the space station now at this point are Wes, Mark, and Sonya. Wes falls into a deep depression after Mark belittles Wes for his failure to save the remaining soldiers and removes him as the leader of the mission. Sonya is to take his place and send Wes back to Earth as soon as possible. A meteor storm outside makes it impossible to send him back that night, so Wes is sent back to his room to pack. That same night, though, Wes has a bad dream of vampires taking over humankind on Earth. He wakes up in a cold sweat. It's at this point that Wes begins to believe that maybe someone on the ship is working for the vampires and has been sabotaging the mission from the very beginning. He searches around the ship for clues as to who it could be, but actually finds nothing. Dejected, he returns to sleep but stumbles upon a door opening on its own, as if by an invisible force. Mark goes running to Sonya, and the rest of the film plays out from there. Ultimately, Wes was unable to stop the alien vampires from invading our quote-unquote puny civilization, inferring that someday we will fall victim to their species.
Poor Wes.
Wow.
Oh, well, yeah, poor
That
Wes.
sounds like a very plausible plot for this movie.
You got the misogyny right.
Yeah, I
But
figured.
But you didn't get that the female characters are like in this movie. The female characters are not competent.
Oh no!
Oh.
Oh!
Like it's not their fault. It's the writers, but it's also
Yeah.
from the 60s.
No, it's the vampire's fault.
I
You're right,
got
it's
the
the vampires'
misogyny
fault.
right.
You got the
I got
misogyny
it.
right.
I got it right.
10 points to Hannah for getting the misogyny
Thank
right.
you. Thank you. I'll take it.
Oh no.
Oh, I guess we're giving out points to anybody now.
Wow.
But no, that's great. I like the bit where they're just jumping between planets and it turns into like
Yeah.
a space murder mystery.
Yeah.
So I assume Wes is the protagonist.
Yes.
Okay, and then
Makes sense.
I don't know. I guess following his depressing journey,
Yeah.
trying to be the best but being belittled. For
Exactly.
it. This feels like it can be a really dramatic, kind of intense movie, but still feels like it could work in the '60s. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
I like
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I
Who's
mean,
next?
I got another sponsor before
Wonderful.
our next person. All right. Our next sponsor is Norse VPN. Are you afraid of your doomsday prepper neighbors hacking into your Wi-Fi and framing you for hacking into the Pentagon and sending nukes to Russia so Russia will nuke us back?
Yeah, hell yeah.
If you don't want nuclear winter, get Norse VPN. Alrighty.
I should get NorseVPN.
All right. Our next pitch is coming from Ben.
That's me.
Ben?
So, let me start off by saying that 2 weeks ago, I wrote a lot of chicken scratch for my notes, and I ended up forgetting the name of the movie. The real name of the movie is Planet of the Vampires,
Right.
correct? Well, I thought it was Space Vampires, and so I went with that, which it sounds very similar.
Yeah,
it has a similar vibe.
I mean, accurate.
I still want to see it. You know?
But here's I will say that I shuffled this pitch together, so at certain points I will pause for any questions that anyone might have. And so just be prepared for that if you do have any questions. If not, we'll just move on. So we begin in Vancouver. Jonathan is he's a sound for picture recordist just out of college.
Wait, you say Jonathan?
Jonathan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the protagonist of this movie. And he's tasked with.
Hold up. Have you all seen the clip of Paul Rudd in an interview? Like they ask him what Thor's hammer is called, and he goes, "Jonathan." That's what
Yeah.
what I'm picturing. It's just like so we meet Jonathan.
Because it's like it's an intercut of like them asking a bunch of people, and they're like, Mjolnir?
Paul Rudd just goes,
Jonathan.
So yeah, ad-libbing this bit, Jonathan is played by Paul Rudd, and the film takes place in 1998. So he's a sound for picture recordist just out of college, who's tasked with re-recording all of the dialogue for his cousin Daniel. The project is a crummy vampire space movie that Daniel put together after dropping acid and dozing off in a haunted house. But it turns out that this was an idea that Jonathan came up with when he was a little kid. He wrote a script and everything. It was a well-nuanced piece about the celestial vampire war in a galaxy far, far away. But much like with everything, Daniel stole that idea when Jonathan told him about it when they were dropping acid together in a haunted house. Any questions?
So it's not about the movie, it's about them dubbing over the movie.
It is about yes.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Wonderful. Since there are no other questions. So out of spite and to make sure that Daniel's movie doesn't take off, Jonathan plans on making this the worst sounding movie that he's ever seen to get back at his cousin for stealing his idea. and then I put period question mark because that was a work in progress premise. And so Jonathan proceeds to sabotage the ADR process by deleting all of the sound and ADRing the whole movie with his own voice.
Okay.
Daniel never learned how to read. Yeah, wait.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, any questions?
Hold on for a second.
Daniel's illiterate?
Okay, this is a good time to also mention that that from the first 5 minutes of us watching this movie, it is poorly dubbed over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, forgot to mention
Besides
that.
Mark. Like Mark, his lip syncing
Right.
is pretty good, but everyone else's is really bad and like doesn't match up really well at all.
Pretty typical 60s cut.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's good to mention because that clearly has a lot to do with your movie.
Yes, probably should have mentioned that. But so yeah, Daniel never learned how to read, much like Leah Michelle. Okay, I'm glad that joke landed. I didn't know that you guys would like understand that reference. But
we before you came in, we all three had a long conversation about musical theater.
We did.
oh,
we
okay,
did.
okay, cool, perfect.
She wasn't in it. Because, but
you know,
But yeah, she can't
we
read.
get the bit.
we get the
And so
bit.
the script he
script
wrote
has pictures.
was a bunch of hieroglyphics and scribbles on several napkins. A lot of napkins. So yeah, they gather a huge cast and a huge crew consisting of Wes. Guy's actual name is Wes. Jonathan's next door neighbor who wants to be a star. And he looks a lot like the grandpa from Spy Kids or Marlon Brando or Anthony Perkins.
All right, one of those three.
One of those three, because, they all look very similar.
nice combo.
He either looks like Khan from Star Trek,
Yeah. And
the Godfather, or whoever the heck Anthony
or
Perkins
the
is.
guy from Psycho. Sonia, whose actual name is Sonia, Jonathan's ex-girlfriend that Daniel stole from him, much like his ideas and his wardrobe.
Revenge.
And Mark, who drops out halfway through the production and has to be played by somebody's dad. Yeah, any questions?
Is Leah Michelle in the movie, yes or no?
No.
Oh, man.
Yes, she plays Sonya.
Oh.
And they had to do like a lot of makeup for the actual creation of the movie.
Wait. Oh, so question: are these people acting in the movie, or are they just dubbing over the lines?
They were acting in the movie, yes. But Jonathan did all of their dialogue
Got it.
Sweet.
in post.
Okay.
So they're filming the movie.
They already filmed the movie.
Oh, okay,
I'm making this up now. They already filmed the movie.
gotcha.
And now they're in post production, and he's trying to like deal with
That
the
makes
drama
sense.
of
That's
that.
why Sonya's in the movie because
Right.
it's Daniel's girlfriend at this point.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the last 5 minutes, what we watched was the movie they were making and the one that Jonathan sabotaged. Anyways, the film becomes a huge cult classic, much like Velocipaster or other intentionally bad movies, launching Daniel into stardom and leaving Jonathan in the dust, space dust, vampire dust. I don't know. Daniel asks Jonathan if he would like to work together again, since his spotty work in the sound booth won them a ton of attention. But Jonathan declines since he feels betrayed that Daniel had stolen his girlfriend, his idea, and his wardrobe. Then Daniel reminds Jonathan that this was their idea together, and they've wanted to make this movie since they were kids, playing as space vampires together until their college years. But all of the acid that Jonathan did suppressed those memories, so he forgot that they wrote the movie together. And Jonathan goes, "Oh yeah." And so they continue to work together until they get really rich, eat a bunch of gold-encrusted Twinkies, and die.
Ooh. So
What a way to go.
Does the movie end with the last 5 minutes we just watched?
Yes, it plays out all of this drama, and then when they die, after they die, in the background,
It shows the movie that they made?
Are you making this up right now?
Yes. And then it's this long dolly shot into the TV, and we start from exactly where we started watching the last 5 minutes of the movie.
All right.
Nice.
I like it. I think
I think that was probably the most accurate pitch we're going to hear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think your pitch would be better if there were snippets of the movie throughout the whole film.
I think so too, but it also it also wasn't made very well, much like the movie that they made in the movie. And so Let me add this too. Their lines were also all ADR.
Wait, Jonathan and Daniel's
Jonathan
lines were
and Daniel.
ADR'd by somebody else.
ADR by somebody else.
Why do I want to make this now?
It sounds fun. It sounds fun to make.
Sounds like a fun summer.
I wouldn't
Good
want to
concept.
watch it, but I'd
No.
like to make it.
Be a nightmare for whoever's sound mixing.
Yeah.
Luke.
Oh God.
If you want to make this movie.
I'm up for a challenge. Let's do it.
I love it. That sounds like an early 2000s like stoner comedy.
Yeah. Much like a Kevin Smith, like a
Much like a Kevin
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
like
Seth
a
Rogen
Silent
kind of
Bob.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great.
The end.
I'm into it.
The minute you said Twinkies, I just saw Woody Harrelson
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
for reasons.
So Jonathan is Paul Rudd, Daniel is Woody Harrelson.
Yes.
That works.
Cool.
We're casting this movie now.
Yep.
Leah Michelle is Sonia.
Yeah.
And then the guy from Psycho.
And somebody's dad for half of the movie.
And then we actually just find a neighbor to play Mark.
Yeah.
Just some random guy.
Can my dad Mark play Mark?
Yes,
Ooh,
sweet.
yeah,
we
no,
get
you're so
Luke's
right.
dad Mark to play Mark.
Mark.
His name is actually Mark. It's perfect.
He's born for the role.
Yeah. Hi, Dad, if you're listening.
All right, so I'm going to go on to our next sponsor. All right. Our next sponsor is Round Space. Are you afraid of pigs? Me too. They're the worst. Round Space. All right, Luke, you want to go?
Oh, absolutely.
Oink.
Oink, oink.
Going back to Gallatin. Anyway, so Planet of the Vampires. Long ago, 1960s or so, prophecy foretold of a planet of vampires where they could just roam around free and live out their vampire desires without, any consequences. Nature was perfectly balanced, as all things should be with these free-range vampires.
Free range, pasture raised vampire.
They were just healthy vampires, On a
I'm just imagining a field of vampires just like confused
Just looking
vaguely,
around.
but like walking around just going, what
they suck the blood out of like a pig or something. But it's okay because there's like plenty of pig. Like everything was perfect on this planet of vampires. And then on a scientific quest to prove that vampires are real, a group of human adventurers wreak havoc on the planet, destroying their ecosystem.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. They're searching for a substance called Edwardium cullensite. Well, so this mineral is a great catalyst for producing common crops such as corn. It will also turn you into a vampire on contact.
So it either makes corn grow really well or changes you into a
Yeah,
vampire.
but if you touch it, you turn into a vampire.
Okay, so okay.
Three adventurers, Wes, Sonya, and Mark, board a ship that looks shockingly like the USS Enterprise and search far and wide over this planet of vampires for the mineral, very much a la like the spice in Dune. Sonya is actually the first to discover the mineral, and they decide to keep it in a special container that just plays Decode by Paramore on repeat.
Nice.
While attempting to Kobe the Edwardian cullensite into the container, Sonya cuts herself on her hand and turns into a vampire without the other two knowing.
No.
So Sonya and Wes are actually engaged. Very sweet. But what Wes doesn't know is that Sonya is secretly having an affair with Mark, the captain of the ship.
Tragic.
I know. So their
Tale
kiss...
as old as time.
What?
It's tale as old as time. My
Yeah.
vampire girlfriend's cheating on me with
vampire
my
love
captain.
affair. Where have we heard that one before? So Sonya turns into a vampire, but because she's having an affair with Mark, their kiss transmits the vampiric virus to Mark, and thus he turns into a vampire. So both Sonya and Mark are now vampires, leaving Wes the only human. The movie then turns into a 30-minute live-action Among Us game where Mark and Sonya are traveling like in and out of air vents, and Wes is like, he can't seem to catch them. Wes decides to go to sleep when he sees something suspicious in his sleep, like the figure of the reflection. He decides to call an emergency meeting within the game.
In the game.
Is there a red button and everything?
Yeah. There's a red button and
Yeah.
everything. He questions Sonya in the control room, he finds Sonya staring at the material, the Edwardium collinzite in the container, because she is a vampire, so she's just kind of naturally drawn to the power of it. So that's what she's staring at in the control room, is the
glowy thing.
the glowy thing, the material. And so Wes comes in and starts bringing up a lot of good points about Mark's sus actions. And so Sonya brings him to Mark, where she reveals herself and says, Wes has found out about us, in both reference to them both being vampires and their love affair.
Oh, it's that subtext that really
It's the
gets me.
subtext in the Edward's collinzite. So in reference to both them being vampires and their steamy love affair. So in an attempt to stop them both, Wes takes a hockey stick to the contained substance, but kills himself in the process. No more Paramore. It's very sad.
Oh.
And so in order to move on in society, Sonya and Mark decide to inhabit Earth. Specifically, they move to Midwestern United States, specifically Iowa, where the Edwardium collinzite helps them grow corn.
Ah,
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so today, Mark and Sonya's descendants... Because at the end of the movie, they say, like, and those after us, you know?
Yeah.
So today, Mark and Sonya's descendants live on as farmers in the Midwest, as well as Midwestern politicians, because as politics seem to be a natural career for blood-sucking monsters. Thank you very much. That is Planet of the
I love the
Vampires.
political nuance.
Yeah.
That was great.
I was wondering when the corn would come full circle, and then I forgot about it, and then you mentioned it. I thought that was amazing.
You know, Chekhov's corn.
Yeah,
Chekhov's
corn.
Yeah.
That was great. That was.
I told you mine was short and dumb.
It was.
It is
was
not
perfect.
dumb.
No,
I love how
Don't
you
speak
said
poorly about
suspicious, like in full, after you brought up Among Us.
That was great.
oh, thanks.
That was really good. I like that.
Thank you.
I liked all of yours.
I like you guys. Yours were great, guys.
Yeah.
Colin site.
Too.
Edwardium
So
Gold.
funny.
Great. All right. Before the final judging, I've got one more sponsor for us. Yeah.
Yay.
You wake up again. This is the third time you've woken up tonight. Each time the remnants of your dreams held in your vision, but you're awake now, fully awake, because they aren't dreams. Surrounding you are 5 men. They look like men. They're breathing and whispering to each other like men. They smell like peanuts. You think the largest one is wearing a red tie, but it's wet and moving up and down like a tongue. Oh gosh, is that its tongue? Is that its tongue? Go back to sleep. It's just a dream. And when you wake up in the morning and see the bruises on your arms, just tell people you're a violent sleeper. It's easier than the truth. 5 Guys, burgers, and fries. Easier than the truth.
What?
Oh!
August! What? What was happening there?
He smells like peanuts.
It's a 5 Guys ad. What are you talking about?
What were the men
This is
doing?
just the ad copy they gave.
Don't
Gave us
question
$20.
sponsor.
They gave us $20.
They gave us
We're
$20 to
keeping
read
it.
this live. We haven't even put out an episode.
What were the men doing? What were the 5 guys doing?
All right, so on to the judging.
Making sick burgers.
I don't want to know.
There's some judging going on already.
So for most accurate, I have to give it to Hannah.
Of course.
Aw, shucks.
So you get 17 ray guns.
Oh, lovely.
Wow.
I'm gonna need every single one,
I'm trying to think of most. What's my
particularly
favorite?
for the 5 guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my favorite. Because I liked all 3 of them. They were all great. I think I like Ben's. Because I'm a sucker for a meta comedy.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So out of
What do I
pocket,
get?
but it
Ben,
works so well.
you get 4.5 latex suits.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I will be
Now's a
wearing-
good time to mention that the whole movie they wear latex suits.
You should really wear all of them at the same time.
I will definitely be wearing one of the whole ones because the half one doesn't seem safe.
Oh man. All right, I guess I'll talk about the real movie now. Planet of the Vampires, 1965, directed by Mario Bava. Oh, real quick, it is an Italian-Spanish movie. So it is actually dubbed over.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
And I
thought
will
they were
actually
just-
explain that further here in a second.
Okay.
So it's directed by Mario Bava. But I don't. He's Italian. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Mario Baklava.
The screenplay is by him, Alberto Bevilacqua, Callisto Casuba.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gesundheit.
Antonio Roman, Rafael J. Salvia, and the American script was written by Ib Melkor. If you recognize that name, he did Angry Red Planet, Reptilicus, and the Death Race movies.
I've not heard of any of them.
Me
Yes.
neither.
I'm not familiar with the name. Thank you for asking.
I'm familiar with the name, and that's all that matters. It's based off of a short story called One Night of 21 Hours.
One Night Werewolf.
And it's so it's an Italian-Spanish movie filmed in Italy and Spain. But the thing about this movie is that everyone just spoke their native language on set. And it's an international cast. So your main character, Mark, is American. I
great.
believe the woman that plays I believe the woman that plays Sonia is I think she's Portuguese. No, she might be Italian. Yeah, she's Italian. Wes is Portuguese. And the other woman in the movie is Spanish. So they all just spoke their native language on set, and no one understood what anyone was saying the whole time. And they
that's
just dubbed it
amazing.
over later.
Did they dub it in Italian then?
There's an Italian version and an American
Oh, okay.
version, so they dubbed it in Italian and in English.
Whack.
Yeah, it's real weird. And other things. This movie had a budget of $200,000. It was a very cheap movie to make. Most of their stuff they stole. Like this movie,
Stole.
or they like costumes and stuff they took from other movies.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
This movie was so cheap. Like for the planet that they land on, they used smoke and 2 rocks for the whole movie. They literally only had 2 big rocks, and they just like did second exposures for them to put them in multiple places, and they used like a lot of camera tricks and stuff.
That's
Man.
big
So there's-
boy hours, fam.
There's a lot of forced perspective in this movie.
But yeah, that's
They did 2 rocks before Everything Everywhere All at Once.
that's
Yeah.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this movie actually, a lot of people think, and it's pretty obvious once you see the movie, that this movie inspired Alien and Prometheus. So you watch this movie, and there are 2 scenes that are straight up almost exact copies of Alien. There's a scene with a dead body on an exam table, and it kind of comes to life. It's not the chest burster thing, but it's very
Right.
similar. And then a scene where they go into an alien ship and they encounter big skeletons and stuff. So,
That's crazy.
like, except for the whole eggs hatching and getting face hugged, it's a very similar scene.
This
Like, very
movie,
similar.
the one that we watched, inspired Alien.
where they're
Inspired.
like walking or limping around, crawling around.
Hold on, let me grab a gun.
Let me grab
Let me
this.
grab a gun.
Okay, let's go.
Whoa.
What is the actual plot?
I guess yeah. This.
Yeah. So I'll go on to the actual plot. So the movie starts on a spaceship called the Argos. We meet the captain, Mark Markery.
Markery?
Mark Markery.
All right.
So we meet him, we meet Sonia, we meet Wes, and we meet a bunch of other people. I think Sonia is the communications officer, and I think Wes is the engineer.
Sonia Sonyuri.
So the Argos and their sister ship, the Galliot, are hovering over the planet Aura, Aura. And I think they've done six orbits around this planet or something. And the crew of the Argos has been getting a signal coming from the planet. They then radio to I believe it's the engine room. So they radio to the engine room. And this is where we learn about what's called the meteor ejector. And it is probably the most important thing in the movie.
Great.
It is the glowy thing that Wes smashes. And its entire job is to just deflect meteors that are coming at them. And this scene is where we learn that If the meteor ejector ever fails, the ship won't even last a minute in space. I think he says the ship will end up looking like Swiss cheese. So they prepare to land on the planet, but first they call the Galliot and video call with them. There we meet the captain of the Galliot, Solace, and we meet Mark's brother, Toby, who is also on the Galliot. Then they lose the signal to the other ship. The Argos begins landing after a really long scene where everyone is being like pulled to the ground or deeper into their chairs because they're experiencing really heavy forces of gravity. Like this, it's a really long scene. Like it's like 2 or 3 minutes long, and it's just
Wow.
people being pressed into chairs and stuff. But after that really long scene, they land safely. Then after they recover, everyone just starts trying to kill each other. Like they just like they recover for a second, look at each other, and just start charging at each other and trying to kill each other. Everyone but Mark. Mark stops them. He either slaps them. This is where the misogyny comes in. He starts hitting a lot of women.
Oh,
Gotcha.
60s.
Well, it's not just the women. It's the men too. But he's also
And the children.
and the children.
violence.
But he slaps them and wakes them up, and
So it is like Among Us. They're
A
trying
little
to,
bit.
They're trying to kill each other.
So he does that. He wakes everyone up except for Brad, who is an old man who has gone to the airlock and is trying to escape onto the planet's surface. I mention his name only because it's really funny that how they introduce
Old
him.
man named Brad.
How they introduce him is so funny. Wes comes up to him and I think he says something along the lines of, "We got everyone except Brad." Like, oh, who's Brad? So Mark and Wes quickly catch up to Brad on the surface of the planet, and they jolt him awake. This is where we first see the planet. It's mostly fog, a few rocks, and then their ship. It's very cheap. It's clearly a soundstage with a lot of smoke and 2 rocks copied
Sure.
over and over again.
As one does.
Yeah. So they go back on the ship, they recoup, they basically just recap everything that happened. Then they get a distress call from the Galliot. Mark, Wes, Tiana, who's the other girl in the movie, and some other guy who I don't know the name of, head off to find the Galliot. After traversing the dangerous terrain of the planet, they find the ship, but everyone inside is dead. But it's not like they crashed and died, like they have clearly murdered each other. So everyone's dead. Then they get to the control room, but it's locked from the inside, and inside of the control room are 4 bodies, one of which is Captain Solace, another one is Toby, Mark's brother. 3, they count everyone on the ship and they realize 3 people are missing, and the Galliot's meteor ejector is destroyed. They bury the dead, then head back to their ship to get the tools they need to break into the control room of the Galliot. When they come back, they find that the control room is open and the bodies are gone. Tiana, who is standing guard outside by herself, she sees something in the fog, flips out, starts crying and stuff, then they all run back to the Argos. They don't actually show what Tiana sees. It's just smoke, and then she just starts crying. And I don't get it. Then the next scene is all the bodies they buried raising from the dead. Like there's like this metal sheet over. They didn't bury them. They put them in the ground, cover them in plastic, and put like a metal sheet over them. And it's just them pushing out of the metal sheet and ripping out of the plastic. But it's all of the dead bodies they buried.
That's kind of cool. Well,
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
I do too.
That's cool.
Honestly,
That sounds kind of cool.
This movie has some really good stuff in it.
Yeah, like part of the pitch or part of my pitch that I forgot was about the production designer who's like really good. But
It's like it's obvious they don't have much of a budget, but they did really well with the
Yeah.
budget they
And
had.
Very
obviously,
creative filmmaking.
I'm assuming all like practical effects and stuff.
All practical effect, besides like some CG or some
Like
like,
the
like
lasers
like the
and
space.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'll get into that. The
Okay.
lasers specifically, because the lasers are practical and it's obvious. The humans get back to their ship and they realize that the signal that the planet had been sending has stopped, but they all kind of suspect that there's an intelligent life. The intelligent life lives here or something. Then Wes is like, oh, we have 3 days to fix the ship before we run out of food and oxygen and stuff like that. So Mark is like, all right, we all need to go to sleep. So they all go to sleep, but Mark stays up to record an audio recording of him going, oh, everything's hopeless, we're all gonna die. And while he's making
Captain's log.
Captain's log,
Oh God.
We're hopeless.
He pretty much says, Captain's log, I don't want to tell anyone else this, but we are all going to die.
Captain's
Oh my
log.
gosh.
I've made a huge mistake.
So while he's recording that, Wes walks through and breaks into the engine room and tries to steal the meteor ejector. He doesn't try to break it, he tries to steal it. Mark then wakes Wes up, and then they all learn that whatever is on this planet can control them while they're unconscious. So if they go to sleep, they need to have someone standing guard to make sure that they don't just wake up and start killing people. As another guy stands guard outside the ship, there's two guys standing guard outside the ship. A bunch of lights that look an awful lot like the cover of Blurry Face by 21 Pilots. Those start flying through, like back and forth in the distance. The guards report it. They're all confused by them. While investigating, they hear a scream off in the distance. They investigate to find Bert. I don't know Bert. I think he was introduced earlier. They find Bert dying. And they ask him who did this, and he says Captain Solace killed him, who was the captain of the Galliot, who they saw dead earlier.
Interesting.
They bring Bert's dead body back inside and put him on an exam table. They talk for a minute, then everyone leaves but Tiana, who she stays to finish the records of his death. As she does this, she has like an open cabinet, and as she closed the cabinet door, Bert's right behind it and jump scares her, and she faints. And everyone hears her scream, and everyone rushes in to help her because they heard her scream, but Bert is back on the exam table dead. And so they bury him because she says, "Oh, it was Bert." And they're all like, "Oh, it's just, you're just going crazy. It's just space sickness or something like that." Mark and Sonia and then another guy go to investigate the planet. I think his name is Connor. I can't remember what the other guy's name. There's a lot of people that don't matter in this movie.
Okay.
They go out to investigate the planet. They've got sick new jumpsuits on. They're like orange and blue. They're awesome. So they go out and investigate the planet. They find an alien ship with huge skeletons around it and inside of it. Mark and Sonia leave that one guy by himself, and they go inside. They look around, get caught in a trap, and escape. This is by far the best sequence in the movie. It is it's like how they enter it is awesome. The ship inside is pretty cool, and it's very, very odd. This is the scene that they straight up put into Alien. Like,
Nice.
minus the eggs that latch onto your face and put an egg in you. It's like almost exactly that scene. And the same scene in Prometheus. Like, they find the big skeletons piloting the ship. Like, it's the exact same thing. As they leave the ship, Mark and Sonia discover that the other guy has just disappeared. He never comes back. Like, the implication is that he died or something, but they just never show him again.
He just left the set.
He's like, "Guys, I gotta quit. I'm out of here." When they come back to the Argos, Tiana has seen two of Galliot's dead crew members. Like, they don't show her seeing them, but she's on the exam table freaking out, going, "I saw them, I saw them, I saw them." Then, while Mark and Sonia are outside, Solace, the captain of the Galliot, and another crew member from the Galliot show up, and they stumble to the ship. Mark helps them. He says, "Hey, you guys need to go to sleep. You guys go rest up. While one of you's sleeping, make sure the other one's standing guard." And so they trot off away. Because Tiana has been freaking out so much, Mark and a few others go back to the graves the graves they dug, and they open them and they find that they're all empty. They rush back and catch Solace and the other guy trying to steal the Argo's meteor ejector. Again, not destroying it, trying to steal it. One of them escapes with the meteor ejector, but Mark catches Solace, and through their fighting, Solace opens his shirt, and you see like his rib cage and like his blood and guts and stuff like that.
Fun.
And like all of his bloody wounds and stuff. And so they learn that Solace's dead body has been taken over by one of the ethereal beings on this planet who are struggling to survive and need dead bodies to possess so they can leave the planet. This is where I'm going to tell you guys that there are no vampires in this movie.
I was about to ask.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was
single
wondering.
vampire.
Like,
They sound a lot more like zombies than vampires.
Yeah,
and like
rising from the
manipulative
dead.
zombies that can take over other people's bodies. I was like, are there fangs?
Like
Is there any blood sucking?
The closest thing to vampires is when they come out of their graves. and it doesn't even look like vampires. It's just them
vampires.
busting
It
out of
sounds
grave.
like the beginning of the Thriller
Does
video.
the-
Right.
Yeah.
It's just there's
The reflection later on, does the reflection point to them being?
No,
did I
no.
just get that wrong? In the
so in
rerun?
at the end of the reflection, you actually see Mark in the reflection.
Oh.
So he's not a vampire. The Italian name for this movie is Terror in Space, which
Oh.
makes more sense, but
Yeah.
is less like eye catching, I guess. So they just made a
Okay.
Planet of the
Vampires.
Vampires for some
Even
reason.
though there's no
Vampires in the movie.
great.
When did you say this was released?
65. This is why I was so glad I picked this movie after I watched it. I picked it because it was like, oh, dumb movie, space vampires. I watched it and went, no, there are no vampires in this movie. I'm so glad I picked it. So yeah, after they learn all about the ethereal beings that are on this planet, they also learn that the signal they got was just a lure from a lure from this race to like trap ships. And the ship and the huge beings they found earlier were also victims of that signal. So Solace then says that they don't need to die. They only need to submit to their race, and then they'll take over their bodies and take all their free will and stuff like that. So Mark, Sonia, Wes, and the other two crew members, because there's only 5 of them alive at this point, Mark, Sonia, Wes, and the other 2, then head to the Galliot to steal their meteor ejector back so they can leave the planet because Wes has fixed their ship. They get there, retrieve the meteor ejector, plant bombs on the other ship, blow it up, and then head back to the Argos. Meanwhile, the other 2 crew members die on the way.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Of
like,
course.
they started with
much
18
carnage.
people. At the end of the movie, there's 3 of them. Like, it just, people just get picked
This
off.
movie's
as-
got a body count.
Yeah, it really does. Because, like, that's like 15 from that ship plus the 18 from the other ship
Yeah.
that also
Goodness
died.
gracious.
So once they leave the planet, Mark, it's weird. They leave the planet. Mark and Sonia are talking normal. Then weirdly, within, like, it kind of feels like within the same scene, they start talking like they've been possessed by the beings from the planet.
Huh.
Like, it's a real quick change and you never see them die. It's just really weird. So it's like the implication is that they submitted to the beings for some reason, even though they just got away. It's super weird. But Wes goes to sleep, but he can't. And his door creaks open and he sees in the really, really the metal polished wall, he sees Mark creeping up with a ray gun. And then Mark sees that he's awake and Mark slips out. And then we have the last 5 minutes where Wes goes up to Sonia and
I
goes,
feel like I actually wasn't that far off.
No,
you really were.
That's
close.
really
You were
weird.
very close.
That's so odd.
Except they weren't vampires.
They weren't
for
vampires.
some reason.
so that Wes smashing that big glowing thing, that's their meteor ejector, which means they could never go much further than they already
The
were.
ship
And they
is
were
going to turn
already
to
next
Swiss
to Earth.
cheese.
Yeah,
and-
so it's just which weirdly implies that, like, also I don't know who was following them. Like, that's one of the things Sonya says at the end is
Yes, like
the
there's
planet
like,
for us and the ones who follow us. They never explain who's following them.
huh.
Like, it can't be the other ship because the other ship doesn't work
I
anymore.
thought
they
they just
blew
meant
it
like
up.
their race.
I thought so too
Like,
for
they're
a while.
they're
But
descendants.
there's
descendants.
also a shot like exterior of the spaceship where it looks like they're being attacked.
Like at the very
with
end?
laser
Oh,
beam-
oh,
or
so-
is that
so
the,
those-
is that the
Those light balls that are hitting the ship,
right?
those are meteors.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's shown at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
Those things soaring at the ship,
then
and
being
they deflecting off, and
Yeah.
they deflect one. Then they called the engine room and went, "We just deflected another ship. We just deflected another meteor. How many is that?" And the dude in the engine room goes, "That's 9,999. One more, and I'll buy you a cake with 1,000 candles on it." And I'm like,
Whoa.
okay, why?
That's a promise.
That's
It's a promise.
1965 for you.
But yeah, so those are meteors, and I think the 21 Pilots flights were like the visual representation of the ethereal beings coming. Yeah, I don't know but it's really interesting. It's an interesting watch. It's a very slow movie. Like, it's very slow and it takes its time. There are like 3 scenes with a bunch of fighting. The laser guns. I didn't mention those.
Right.
The laser guns are very clearly like really crappy guns with a flamethrower on the front of them. And it shoots out about maybe a foot from the barrel of the gun. So every time they shoot the laser gun, the camera gets really close and cuts the edge of the flame off with the edge of the frame. So it looks like it goes further, but they don't do it in every shot, and you could very clearly tell that it's just
like
a
a short
flame that's going
flamethrower.
off like 6 inches.
Oh, that's still cool.
Yeah, so so like the only like special effects were like the blurry lights.
Yeah.
But they did a lot of miniatures, they did a lot of forced perspective, and they did a lot of practical effects in this movie.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also 1965 practical effects.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, I mean, that's the movie.
I want to watch it.
All
I
right.
really.
What do we
same.
yeah, it's just I did not expect to like it. I was like, this is gonna be bad. And then when the opening scene took like 20 minutes to play out, I was like, I'm in love with this movie. Because I love really slow movies that make me want to fall asleep.
Next edition to the Criterion Collection,
Planet of the Vampires, the movie that inspired Alien.
Terror in Space.
Like, obviously, Alien's the better movie, but you watch this movie and you're like, I get it. Like, I see where Ridley Scott got all these. Got some
Because
of
of
these
the
ideas.
production of this movie, does this count as a foreign film?
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
yeah. So this,
Wow.
yeah.
So when we watch this, we should use subtitles, shouldn't we?
You might need subtitles.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so like that's why all the lip syncing is terrible
Yeah.
because they're all speaking drastically different languages from each other.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I mean that's the movie. I guess. Wow.
Wow, I want to watch it now.
And yeah. So yeah, Hannah, you were very close. Like very like surprisingly.
Yeah.
I'm like not shocked, but also kind of surprised
Well,
a
'cause
little bit.
One of the planets you said was like a smoke planet, and I was like, oh, that's pretty much what this one was.
I just came up with that one on the fly. I didn't,
You telling me there's no Among Us in this movie?
Yeah, what? Come
yeah. What?
It kind of feels like it for a second, but then they're like, no, let's just disregard that whole idea of who's died and who hasn't. Because that would make a great movie, like, oh, who's died and is being possessed. But
That's
that's
a
just the
little
thing.
more like,
Space,
yeah,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted murder mystery in space. That's what I want. That's what I want to see.
Benoit Blanc goes to space.
Yeah.
The way I literally can't stand Knives Out, and everyone just disagrees with me.
You don't like Knives Out?
I don't. I haven't seen Glass Onion though, and I need to see it, but
What did you not like about Knives Out?
I think it's so predictable. They give you so many clues too early, and I just think it's very obvious. I think it thinks it's much smarter than it actually is. I like the beginning and the end, but the middle I don't care for.
Wasn't that like the point of? I feel like that was the point. It was supposed
yeah,
to be
they-
predictable.
think that
tell
as a
you who
point.
did
Like,
it.
Like
I
you
don't
were-
like. I don't think that's very smart though. I don't like that.
Let's
To
take
me,
it up
that's
with Ryan
like defeats the
Johnson.
purpose.
branding it as like a mystery or promoting it as a mystery movie, there
No,
are
yeah.
some like you kind of go in with some expectations. Like Hannah and I separately watched Death on the Nile this last week, which going into it, you're like, okay, this is a mystery. Still disappointing, but
Yeah.
like with Knives Out, I think that expectation was subverted. I was very middle of the road with it. I was like, okay, this is a good movie, but I wasn't in love with it as much as everybody else was.
I would definitely rather watch Kenneth Branagh's Agatha Christie
Really?
movies than rewatch Knives Out.
Man,
I would.
Okay,
love
that I would
Knives
not
Out.
do.
Because I honestly just really like him as Poirot.
I do too.
Yeah, I think he does a good
So-
Hercule Poirot, but
yeah.
I did see Glass Onion this weekend.
Everyone's saying it's great.
Yeah,
and
so
it
I'm going to give it a
might
chance.
be better than Knives
Whoa.
Out.
I hope so.
I think it really plays into. It's so different. It's not
Good.
because like they go to Greece and it's like it takes place in a semi-modern time with like COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And Ryan Johnson's writing really plays into that.
Yeah.
Is it a smaller cast?
It is a smaller cast, and I liked that because I felt like I got a little lost in the weeds the first time I watched Knives Out, but on rewatches, like you can pick up
That's a
on it.
little how I felt. Like
Yeah.
there were so many people, and I was like, I wish we had more time with each of them. Like it would have been a pretty good series.
Yeah.
If that mystery.
They've
You know,
already
I
done
might have liked it
longer.
more as a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
If
to
it's-
get to know every single character.
If it's any consolation, I feel like most mysteries that are put out now, I don't really care for too much. Because I feel like they are, like, in horror films. Like, I saw, what's it called? Barbarian?
Barbarian,
Thought
yeah.
it was so mid. and everyone's losing their crap over Barbarian.
I was
I was like, okay,
it was good. It was
I don't
watchable.
know.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Still haven't seen it.
I haven't
but
seen it either.
the thing I did
I
like
had
about
questions.
the thing I liked about Knives Out was the fact that it did try to change the format of like a murder mystery without never actually changing the format of the murder mystery. Like it tried to make you think, oh, we're gonna tell you who the murderer is up front, and then the twist is that she didn't technically actually kill anybody.
Did you guys see
a
how
good
they
nurse.
run yet?
No.
Not
It's
yet.
bad.
Oh,
It looks like people keep
It
comparing
really
it
felt like
to.
you were gonna set it up.
No,
Like it-
people keep comparing it to Wes Anderson,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this
It-
isn't even close.
it's like an attempt
yeah,
at Wes
it,
Anderson from what I've seen.
It started off strong within the first like 15, 20 minutes. Like I have a problem with films that they're so self-aware, but then they do nothing to make themselves
Yeah, nothing
different
with it.
from what's been done previously. That to me is not any smarter than what you've done previously. You're just acknowledging it. I don't know.
No, that's
Yeah, I see that.
Rant over. I'll get off my soapbox.
I think Glass Onion plays into itself taking the strengths from Knives Out, because there are some similarities plot wise, but it is a completely different story, and I think it is kind of self-referential in the fact with that Benoit Blanc is this known like crime solver and stuff, and he's the only reoccurring character in the movie.
right.
I don't know where I'm going with this point. I really like Glass Onion.
I saw the Grinch,
Yeah.
the Jim Carrey Grinch, the best one.
not the
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch
Oh,
one.
gross!
Okay,
no,
cool.
no,
Which one? What? Benedict Cumberbatch. I only know about the Jim Carrey one.
the Jim Carrey, the great. All right, all right.
That's it. I'm not going.
Dinner with myself.
that
I
movie.
can't cancel that again. All right, I think it's time for us to do our.
Yeah.
We really went off the rails.
We did,
We
but it's
did.
great. All right, so first of all, I'd love to thank Aaron for doing our amazing.
Aaron.
intro.
Thank you, Aaron.
He's got a beautiful voice and he's great.
We'll get him on the podcast eventually.
Yes. Our Instagram is nuclear popcorn, spelled like it sounds.
NUCLEAR for those confused.
Confused about what, Ben?
You say nuclear wrong.
Nuclear. What's the
Nuclear.
problem?
All right, George W. Bush. Nuclear.
Whoa!
That's how he said it. He goes nuclear. I can't even say it wrong.
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Nuclear?
No,
Yeah,
it's
follow
nuclear.
us on
Nuclear.
popcorn.
Nuclear.
Nuclear.
You know what?
I swear to God, if you
Our
say it
Instagram is nuclear popcorn.
Oh
Thank
my
you
God.
very much. Yeah. Thank you for listening to nuclear popcorn.
No, you're still saying it. I think you're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I just go around and say our names. And you know what? If we want to, we could plug our own personal socials if we wanted to.
Oh. What even is my username anymore?
Queen of Gnomes.
No, I changed it.
You changed
Yeah, I
it?
changed it to match my TikTok because I'm going to start posting on there, making little movies.
Well, then plug
Eventually.
that too.
I guess I have to now. I guess I have to. Okay, I'm Hannah. My Instagram is Little Miss Han Han, and the TikTok is the same. That's where to find me.
I'm Ben. Instagram and TikTok are the same. Benj.Kruger, BNJ.KRUEGER. And I'll hand it off to Luke.
I'm Luke. I'm a hermit. I only have Facebook and Twitter, and I'm never on Facebook. My Twitter is, I think, Luke_Storm17. It's a
Such
play
a
on my
dad.
last name. It's a play on my last
Whoa.
name,
Nice.
which I'm not going to dox myself on this podcast.
I don't think they can dox you just by your name.
Also, our
can they?
3 listeners. I don't.
So far, we have no listeners. We haven't put any of these episodes out yet.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, that's where to find me.
I'm August. I think the only thing I have is TikTok, and I think it's just Augusts, because they wouldn't let me put it in for a 4th time. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. Our host for next week is going to be Hannah. Hannah, if you'd like to introduce our next episode.
Yeah, our film for next week is gonna be The Point
The
from
Point.
1971.
The Point from 1971.
Yes, that's our film for next week.
Heck yeah. So thank you guys for listening to Nuclear Popcorn.
I'm Luke.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Ben.
I'm August. Let's boogie.
Bye.